Good evening and welcome to Legal Tech Live, episode 113. I'm your host, Nick Rishwain, and we're here today with Armen Margarian. Armen is the CEO and co-founder of AppearMe Inc., and that's AppearMe.com for those who want to go and check out the company right now or after the show. Go and check them out at AppearMe.com. Armen was born in, is it Yerevan? Am I saying that correctly?
Correct, yes.
Yerevan, Armenia. His family moved to the USA when he was a teenager. He graduated from the University of Southern California with a BS degree in molecular biology. You also went on to research neurobiology at the USC School of Pharmacy. And eventually went into USC Marshall School of Business, where you received your MBA, and later became an attorney. Is
Correct.
that pretty accurate?
Correct. Yes.
That's correct. So you have, I can't list all your accolades from the Wikipedia page, but you've been a startup founder or a continuous entrepreneur for quite some time, it seems.
Yes. My brother and I have done a few in the past too. So correct.
And you and your brother are partners in AppearMe, correct?
Correct. Yes. We're both attorneys, and he's been an attorney for a bit longer than I have been. But yes.
Very cool. So welcome to the show. Exciting. Armen and I had the chance at Clio conference. I guess that was 2019 now, Armen, because there was a virtual one last year. We had a chance to chat about your company, and at that time we were mostly interviewing, startups under 18 months of age. We've now are looking at those who've been around a little bit longer and who have had some more growth. And AppearMe is that. Tell us about a little bit about your background, and then that I didn't cover, and how you came to create AppearMe.
Well, in between startups, I guess, I went back to law school and got my JD and passed the California bar exam. And when I was practicing law, I joined our family law firm, I guess, with my brother. And I've noticed that it takes a really long time to find an appearance attorney for us. And then if we need to, when we get jammed with too much work, we don't know what to do. Do we hire somebody? But then, in 1 or 2 months, there will not be too much stuff to do for them, and so on. And, having the tech background by that time, and, business mindset, the entrepreneurship kind of spoke out. And, I told my brother, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And he looked at me and said, I know you're looking for, to apply your tech and business knowledge to the legal field, so you should do it. And within a couple of months, and after a couple of chance meetings, even at coffee shops with some programmers, and I would put together a team, and we launched AppearMe for the Los Angeles area at first. And then within the first 1 month, I think we had about 500 to 600 attorneys sign up. And then, we couldn't contain it to LA only, because if you're licensed in California, all of California is your practice field, so to speak. So we did really well in California, and then people from other states started requesting that we become available there. So about a year and a half after the launch, we went nationwide. And then, so what we do is we cover appearances, depositions, if you need someone to defend a deposition for you, or if it's a simple enough deposition, they can do the deposition on your behalf as well. And then we have a freelance attorney module where you can, if you have a one-off job, you want to outsource it, basically, you can find an attorney who can join you from anywhere and help you out. Basically, it's kind of like, some people call it Uber for attorneys. Some people call it like a virtual law firm. But anything litigation related, we're here to help.
Excellent. And so I'm on. Is it app and web based? Is there an app for it?
Correct. We have an iOS app. We have an Android app. You can use the website as well. Actually, the law firms, the submitting side usually uses the website because you don't want to sit at the office and be on your phone, I guess. But
Right.
people who accept it are mostly doing it on their mobile phones because the benefit that we had offered initially, and it's been huge for our users, you can find an appearance attorney within 60 seconds in major metropolitan areas, even minutes before your hearing. Before that, anything you need within 24 hours of your hearing, it's practically impossible unless you wake someone up and say, hey, find someone for me.
Right, right. And so, I'm picturing I'm in a more of a rural area, not really rural anymore, but it's less congested, I guess, than something like LA. But so what you would need in this situation is there's going to be a hearing. There's no chance I'm going to make it because I'm stuck on the 405 for something like that. And you essentially can get somebody who is already at the courthouse who can stand in for you. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And you guys launched. When did you launch originally?
The second part of 2017, we
Later
launched.
part. Okay. And your team has, and this is when we had talked originally, and I said, well, I kind of do these really early stage startups, and I see Hovannes has joined us, Karen's here, Rose and Savak. Thank you all for being here. And if you have any questions for our guest Armen Margarian, please ask them. And your brother can ask familial questions too. That's totally acceptable in this discussion. But so when we spoke, I was blown away. You guys were a Berkeley Skydeck incubator, right? You were in the Berkeley Skydeck incubator.
Correct.
And you had actually gotten developers, as I recall from our conversation, out of Armenia. And you've grown a team to over 20 people now.
Yes, our headquarters are in Glendale, California.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small city in LA, and yes, we're 28 people currently. And the beautiful thing about our app is we have an 800 number that people can call if they need to, but pretty much everything is automated by now, and it's really easy to navigate through. And but again, we have a great team behind it, and we went through the Berkeley Skydeck Accelerator. We were one of the most popular choices among the advisors that we get. Usually get 2-3 advisors. We had 4 advisors. So it was a great experience so far. And, as we go on, we expand and we add more and more services. And the great thing about our company is that we're very flexible. Sometimes people can ask for features or buttons or something that they want the app to do. And we deliver them within 2 weeks, and we call them and say, hey, 2 of you have asked for this button. We think it's a good idea. It's there, go use it. So that's the level of interaction we get into with our users. We're really user-driven startup, so to say.
That's great. And you guys are nationwide, or your team's nationwide now. Can you tell us what you've learned from any of the data? We chatted a little bit beforehand, and it's no surprise to me to hear that the busiest areas are Florida and Texas and New York and California, but we're having this conversation in this time of COVID. Has there been any changes that you experienced? Like the appearances may have dropped off last year about this time, right? When there were closures and all that, but how have things changed? Say, I know that a lot of courts did 60-day closures and then kind of started eking back in, but what was the experience or the data that kind of surprised you that maybe you can share?
Well, the first 60 days, first 30 days, the appearances were near zero. But what we had at that time, we had the freelance module where people were still getting clients. So people were sitting at home. They had more time to think about their legal issues. maybe there's some paperwork unfinished, and they would call lawyers, and lawyers were sitting at home, and sometimes some of these law firms who are members of our network, they were overwhelmed. And what they would do is they would come to our network and hire lawyers on a freelance basis. So that module kind of picked up during COVID, and it went on. And then, as more and more consumers were coming to our website, we started getting requests for, hey, why is this for lawyers only? So we opened up a consumer arm where, if you go to consumer.appearme.com, you can submit a really simple form. And we did it mostly, one, to help the consumers. We had a huge pro bono program where people would submit their cases, and the lawyers who were willing to do some pro bono work, they would know that this is kind of a pro bono work for certain families or individuals. And second, we did it to bring in more business to the attorneys who were sitting home right now or working from home, and we just wanted to support more of them. And this way, the distribution got even better, that not only attorneys in LA metropolitan area were getting busy, attorneys in let's say Nevada City, California were becoming busy because they would pick up these freelance tasks from other attorneys or consumers. So we were flexible enough to have a downfall on the appearance side, but we little by little picked up on the other side where we still kept our users busy and happy.
Excellent, excellent. And that's and can you tell me how this is always we do SaaS products generally on the show. How do you guys do your monetization? Do you take a percent of the appearance? Do you how does that work?
Yes, we take a percentage. We do not have any monthly fees, so it's not a subscription based. We want the app to be installed and available on everyone's phone, because you never know when you'll need it. And what we have, actually, we have you price your own appearance. Mm-hmm. You price your own freelance task. And then the same thing on the consumer side. When they come in, they price their own project or matter. We have some minimums, not to offend anyone, because certain people will get really opportunistic and they'll price $40 for an appearance that's God knows where. So we have the minimums, but we give everyone the opportunity to bid a fair price, a price that they think
is reasonable for the appearance that they need.
And we take a small percentage of that for the tech support, customer support, for the processing. And one thing that we found out, the benefits that we did not count on, is that some of the appearance attorneys had issues with collections. Someone says that his company had only 70 to 80% collection rate. We guarantee payments. As long as we get it, we'll also, like, I guess, an escrow account where we make sure it's fair on both sides before we pay out. And that's another thing that we guarantee. If you appear, you're going to get paid. If you draft a motion for someone on a freelance task, you're going to get paid. And we pay within 24 hours. I mean, whatever the bank process is, when they click, I've done the appearance, the money leaves.
That's really interesting. And I guess that gives you a certain level of quality assurance as well, right? Because for the attorney who had no intention of maybe paying, or they wanted to then haggle over the bill or something, you can say, you could even say that, we don't need this kind of a user in our system. Is that right?
Correct. We have features where all users, after every transaction, they rate each other from 1 to 5 stars. And the way we speak to our users is that AppearMe is a family, and the first email they get, it does say, "Welcome to the AppearMe family." And we really want to make sure when you're in the AppearMe ecosystem, you feel safe, you're responsible, and you know that the person in front of you is responsible too. And it's not a matter of people doing bad intentions, but sometimes you forget to pay, sometimes you lose something. So we try to keep record of everything and automate everything and help you to pay, help the other side to get paid, and so on. And it's just a lot less headache where, you know, someone can step in and you know, help you out.
Yeah, that's excellent. And Rose asks, and I think you may have covered this, but I think we should clarify for audio listeners later too, is how are the fees determined between the attorneys? Is that set in advance by the attorney, what they're willing to pay the appearance attorney?
Yes, basically, let's say if you submit an appearance for tomorrow morning here at the Stanley Mosque Courthouse, downtown LA, the minimum would come up, let's say $75, but based on or versus, you know, like Victorville.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit further away. There are fewer attorneys in Victorville. The minimum is still 75, but the system would say for fairness and you know, just based on the location of your courthouse, you might want to offer more. And usually people price it very fairly. So you go in and you offer the price that you want. So you decide, and then it's up to the other side to accept it or not. But again, on average, 98.7% of cases or requests submitted get a match. Again, most of them are within 60 seconds. It's so fast that in the beginning, we did not have any warnings or any like proper flow. People will see their submissions disappear, and they thought that was an error. And then we'll call and say, no, it's not an error. It got processed, so go to the next page. So now we take them to the next page. They see the attorney who took it and, you know, their information. They can connect, talk. So, yes.
That's great. That's great. And Rose had a follow-up question there, which not practicing, I don't remember this as being an issue. She says in California, to bring in another attorney, you have to get the client's consent. How do you handle that requirement?
We assume that when you have appearance attorneys have been around for decades. So in that way, we're not doing anything new. So what our law firm does, I know the California bar requires, and the ABA as well, that you state in your retainer agreement that some or part of the work could be outsourced to another attorney. I'm still responsible for it, but you know, it should be in the retainer agreement. So our terms of use kind of mention that, and we kind of remind the attorneys of record that they need to follow the bar rules and the ABA rules and so on. But you know, those are things that every attorney should be doing, because again, AppearMe or not, it could be their colleague who goes in the same
right.
You still have to disclose that.
Right. So that you inevitably it's on the attorney to be responsible in that in that sense. Yeah. Correct. And Karen Renee says she loves the pro bono aspect. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody who's here. If you have more questions for Armen, please get those in. We'll be happy to ask them on air, as it were. So Armen, when you guys went nationwide, what do you see as the most common uses for appearances? Is it civil mostly? Is it criminal mostly? Are there particular appearances that are most common?
I think civil leads the board, but they're followed by criminal, and it depends on the city, depends on the state, depends. It's even seasonal sometimes. I don't know what it's based on, but at all times, civil leads the board, I think, and we get more civil cases.
And is there a particular type of case that leads the charge?
Not really. No.
Okay. And so you've expanded nationwide. We all know that there's the few main areas, but have you been surprised at any regional explosions, or like North Dakota pops up repeatedly or something to that effect?
Well, we had two surprises. One that in New York, when we launched in New York, for about a couple of weeks. No one was using it. And I talked to several attorneys and they said, hey, your minimum prices are too low. We don't want to offend anyone. So that was a very unique approach to a specific market where we had to honor their traditional way of doing business, and we had to, respect and raise the bar to for the minimum appearance price, and we did that, and everyone loved it, and that's one of our most active states currently. And then Pennsylvania has been growing really fast, and usually we do not have a issue with supplying, meeting the demand on the appearance side. But we had to work hard for 2 weeks to get that covered, and we're good even in Pennsylvania, and it's been growing really well. So
And that was not by way of marketing, I think you mentioned to
no,
me
we did
before.
not spend a single marketing dollar in Pennsylvania. We did not.
So that was just somebody word of mouth. Maybe a firm got a hold of it and they'd heard about it. They were looking for and it exploded for you.
Correct. Probably we could not get to the source of it, but it happens sometimes. And we uh, actually, in all the markets that we expanded into, all the states, we had pretty good success rate where it's a two-sided market as a business, and you need to have enough people for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
In all markets, we were able to do that very quickly, and very successfully, I think.
That's excellent. And have there been any more rural areas where you've noticed some sort of a pickup, anything interesting that way?
What's interesting? It's people who go to, let's say, Lake Tahoe or Vegas or to any of those resorts areas. There are a lot of speeding tickets in that area, and they come back to, let's say, let's take California. They come back to Los Angeles, and they know attorneys in Los Angeles, but the hearing is at some bordering city or town. So we have a lot of those being submitted where you send.
I
Your
go to the Margarian law firm and you just send it off to whoever's
exactly
up
because,
in Tahoe.
exactly because I don't want to drive to, again, Nevada City, California, which I didn't know even existed before me. Uh,
Right. Yeah, very cool. And you mentioned to me, and sorry, folks, I'm segueing here because we had a few minutes to chat before we got started. And you had mentioned to me some interesting kind of experience. You were building some virtual tools as a result of, we thought everything was going remote. In some respects, I think a lot of stuff, at least depositions, a lot of them seem to be remote. But you've noticed some pushback on the virtual recently.
Correct. So the virtual law firm concept clicked with users, and that part still going strong. But talking to attorneys who do mediations, arbitrations, and then even depositions, people don't want to do those things in a virtual world. And I've spoken with my brother again last week. He had a huge case, and one of the deponents was in New York, and their preference was to fly to New York and do it in person because you want to know the deponent's reactions. You want to meet the person. You want to know, how does the judge respond when you say something, and
Mm-hmm.
did the opposing side really like it or dislike? I don't know. It's just that I think we're, you know, social creatures by nature, and we want to interact, and we cannot be isolated for too long. And again, with the mediators, a lot of attorneys, they want to do in-person mediation.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take the time off. They want to go sit down, see each other, and yes, shake each other's hands before and after, and get work done. So we're not sure how that process will work. I believe some people like the virtual reality, so to speak, and that will be part of our practice as attorneys for some time, and for some part, but not entirely. And we had long discussions within our team, and me with my brother about what do we do with our virtual platforms where you can do whole mediation with different virtual rooms, which everyone being in different rooms, bringing them back together, then, you know, kicking everyone out and all those things. But again, people want to do this in person. That's what the feedback that I've got during the past 2-3 weeks.
Excellent. That's interesting. I think that also, you know, it probably doesn't hurt that vaccines are available much more widely now, and so people are probably itching to get out and actually get out of the house. That's interesting, though, that I've heard certainly specifically from the trial lawyers that like I have to do this trial in person. I just can't not do this. But that interesting that in the mediations and even in the depositions that they are changing their minds on that, because I thought that there would be some more growth and maybe on lower value cases there will be still some more virtual depositions.
Yeah, I think so too. And, you know, jury trials, there's an art to it. And doing it virtually offsets or sets off everyone to a different ballpark. And for me, it's a new world. So I don't know how I would do one. So I don't think anyone wants to experiment with that and say, hey, I have a huge case and, you know, let's go wing it.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that seems to make good sense. And when the trial lawyers I know were saying that I need to have this in person, I felt like I got that right away. That made good sense. And if it was something of significant value, if I were the client, I'd want them on to be able to do their best, right? So you have got quite a. Just want to digress for a minute here because I've seen your pictures that you share on Twitter and of you. You're quite the bicyclist, I think, right?
Correct. I've started about 3 years ago. I guess same time that I started AppearMe, but I couldn't bring my bike with me. But I have this. It's a Secret Santa. This was the gift from my one of my teammates, and it's an exact replica of a bike. But yes, on weekends, I enjoy the nice weather here in LA, and I ride about 50, 60 miles sometimes.
Wow. Did you feel that you needed to do that? Was that part of the founder journey? Like you had to have an outlet?
You know, when I first started, I would listen to audiobooks, autobiographies, or those, startup journey books. So it was my time to just be out there and connect with myself. And I love the ocean, the waves, and I love nature. So again, being in California, I have some friends who do Peloton and they go to the gym and they do cycling indoors. I've tried that. I cannot get them. And, we live here. I think we should make the most of it and be outside, get our vitamin D, especially now. We all need all the immune help that we can get. So I enjoy the outdoors. I really do. And that's one of the ways I kind of reconnect with myself and nature and relax.
Excellent. And I didn't realize this about you, but you're quite the photographer as well.
I try. I haven't done that for some time, but
show us some pictures because you were showing me these before we started.
I've got some large prints on our walls. This is the hallway that's from USC, then San Francisco, LA, and when I travel, I usually take my half a suitcase of cameras and drones with me. But
I like it. But as the founder of a growing tech business, that has not been as easy to hold on to that hobby.
No, I do that now probably once a year or twice a year, but it's a really good thing because the camera, I wanted to see, why do I do it? There's so many settings on there. So when you think about all the settings you need to think about, you don't have time to worry about your work, your servers, your anything. So it's a really good way to disconnect and have some time for yourself.
That's great. So tell me about, we oftentimes will talk about the fundraising aspect of the startup life. You've not raised an outrageous sum of money, so it sounds like you were able to go. Crunchbase I looked at before we got started, and there's a couple of rounds, and some they list something like $775,000. But you've grown a pretty good team and are very active, and so it sounds like you were able to get into revenue really pretty early.
Well, yes, we did. Which it was a slow process in the beginning, and then COVID was not very helpful. But um, we have a great team, and everyone works hard, and we celebrate together, we work hard together, we um, go sad together sometimes, but it happens. And actually, one day our CTO came in with a really fainted face, and he said, "I just deleted the whole database."
Oh no.
And we just looked at him, and it's like, "What do? You just go give him a hug." And then he's like, "So no one wants to yell at me?" We're like, "Well, database is not going to come back if we yell at you, so you better get it back yourself." So anytime we do not, and it was before a launch, he was about to push a new version of the software, and we're like, "Hey, Chris, do not delete anything. Just don't just hide the delete button." And he's like, "Hey, it's been 2.5 years. You will not forget about it." It's like, "No, it will never be forgotten on my side." But as far as fundraising, it was a great journey. Some of the investors, seed investors or pre-seed investors, were our users and our friends and family. And it was great when someone would use the software and then would call me and say, "Hey, I want to be part of this software. How do I submit my check?" And in the beginning, we were not even raising, and we're like, "Well, we don't need your money." But they're like, "Well, but I want to be part of it." So when we did come to that round, we gave them a call and say, "Hey, now we're ready for your check. Let's talk." And we did. And then Skydeck had a small contribution too. When you participate, you get some funding from Skydeck as well. So it's been an interesting journey when when you build a product that does not need too much selling on the customer side or on the funding side. It's incredible. When I went through the Skydeck interview, I really did not think I would pass. They asked me questions, and one of the answers was even so arrogant that I regretted that. But then they called me back. I said, "Well, why are you even calling me back?" They're like, "Well, you have so much passion, you have so much interest in the legal industry." And my brother was on with me, and they really grilled us for 2 interviews. And that was one of our first validations on the market side, that this many professionals think we have done a great job and we've come so far. And there's more potential than even we thought. So as you start with the startup, sometimes you try to solve a small problem, and then you have a set of benefits that you offer, and then you quickly realize that there are greater benefits that people find, where you help them with the collections, you have helped them with finding jobs, you have access to justice that's really spreads beyond the metropolitan area, and so on.
Excellent. Yeah, that's interesting. And so, do you think? I don't mean to belabor it, but do you think that you need more funding going forward to grow anymore, or is it self-sustaining at this point? How does that work?
Well, there are a lot more things that we can do, and we have plans to expand with our features and even markets. So yes, we are in fundraising currently.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
Yeah, we are doing. We thought next one would be around A, but since COVID slowed down a lot of things, and on the VC side as well, so we're doing second seed round.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing currently. And
Okay.
Hopefully this year we'll close another round, and then after that we'll get ready for other journeys.
That's the perfect time to just say this, even though we'll wrap up with this in a few minutes. But so they are currently fundraising. If you're interested, it's Armen at AppearMe.com, right? So you'll take cold outreach from venture capitalists and other investors, I imagine.
Sounds good. Yes, we will. And again, it's the best thing is when your users invest in the platform they're relying on. Yeah,
that's great.
Answer questions. Yes.
And I guess I would ask. We've got, I don't want to keep you all night. I know you're still in the office, as am I. But what are some obstacles that you've faced as a founder that you've felt like others had to be familiar with, or you wish you would have known how to overcome, and what maybe an obstacle or two that you had a good takeaway from?
Well, the obstacle is, I don't know. I think this time around, we had a lot less obstacles and a lot less surprises, and all of the surprises were pleasant ones, beside the database deletion one. But the key was to listen to the users. The first edition of software that we launched, probably only 30% of that survived, because people called in with their suggestions and recommendations, and we were overwhelmed with the number of calls. And I was, they're like, oh, this doesn't work, that's bad, and this. I'm like, there's no way you can call in, spend this much effort with this much negativity. But I realized that it's a really positive feedback, because they're saying, hey, I don't want you to go away, I want this to stay, but this is how it should be. And again, our key was that we were very flexible. We took every advice. We listened to everyone's demand, desire, anger, everything. And like one of the most common complaints is that the software is too fast. We don't have enough time to read it, the announcement, before we accept it. So we had to artificially actually slow down a couple of things, where people feel like, someone said, oh, a request comes in and then it disappears. It must be fake. So what we do, we don't delete anything. It's there, you can see it, but it shows that somebody else took it, and you see who took it. So, a lot more transparent, a lot more flexible. And again, it was really, really important for us to listen to what the user wants and how the user wants to use the app, not the way I imagined it.
And so that my main takeaway from what you just said there, and I just want to reiterate it because I thought it was great, was that they're calling and telling you what they were unhappy about wasn't saying, I don't want this thing. Otherwise, they would have just dropped it.
They would just delete it, correct?
Yeah. Which is, I don't know that I've heard that answer before. That's an excellent answer.
Oh, it was great. Some people would stay on the phone for 30 minutes, an hour. We would send them wine as gift, and that was my way to say thank you. Least we could do. So some of them got gifts. And then, when we did the new version, they would call back and say, okay, that's awesome. And, it was continued feedback.
Yeah, that's really great. We always talk about getting the user feedback and user testing, but noticing that they're actually investing their time because they want the tool to work is really important. How about a success that you've taken away that maybe was unexpected, or something where we just covered one of the obstacles or the issues with users, but what about a big success that you had that you were just really proud of?
I don't know. I mean, overall, it's been a great positive experience. I don't know, like we have a lot of people right now from Canada. They want AppearMe to be launched in Canada. And every time we used to go to tech shows or legal tech shows or legal events, we would take everyone's business cards, and a lot of Canadian lawyers come to US tech event, legal events. And I have a huge Rolodex of people who were interested. And They said, okay, just send us an email when you launch. So um, that's one thing that we didn't think about, but it's a possibility we might do it this year. Um, Other than that, it's just great to have, like the consumer side attorneys. We're not a lead generating company where we take a lead and we sell it to 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple process. It's transparent, where you as a consumer, you set your price. Your legal fees are always in control. We're that agency that oversees the fairness of and quality of work. And again, during the COVID um, pandemic, we were able to help so many lawyers who work from home to continue doing so and work better, connect with each other. And because when everything shut down, we really didn't know what to do. Well, we did not know what to expect. We did not know what will happen to us in the months. But again, we were flexible. We tweaked things around and so on. And I mean, we even created an expert directory. We have over 10,000 experts, a couple of hundred court reporters, interpreters, and we don't charge for it. So attorneys come and use, and they're finding, let's say, an automotive expert within 5 minutes, and it's free. And we have all of their credentials on there, with their resumes, photos, and so on. And it's transparent. You can call them before you hire them, and we don't hide anything. So there are a lot of opportunities to stay busy and to give more and more features that will help with litigation.
Yeah, excellent. That's great. Anything you want to add before we wrap up for the evening? Anything that I didn't cover that you feel like has to be said?
It's been a great experience so far, and again, if you haven't tried, I would encourage that you do give us a try. And if you sign up, use there's a code section where you can put in a promo code. You can do welcome 2021, no spaces. Welcome, spell it out, and then 2021. Your first appearance is on us, free. We'll cover it. So give it a try. Again, you'll be surprised how fast it is. People go on different forums. Sometimes they try to find an attorney. And one time it was very interesting that the attorneys that were recommended, they were all in our system. And one of them already picked up the case, but there was still a discussion going on. I did a screenshot. And I'm like, one day I'm going to use this somewhere.
That's great. That's great. And I Karen gets in and squeezes in a question here at the very end. She says, in addition to the expanding in Canada, have you thought about going international otherwise, beyond Canada? I don't know what the appearances are like in other countries.
Exactly. The appearance industry is usually, that's not how, from my understanding, that's not how European court systems are set up, or most of the court systems around the world. But the freelance module and many other features could be implemented, but there's so much more to be done in the US that I feel like US and Canada are priority. I mean, US being the first one, but if we think about expanding, we would definitely consider Canada first before crossing the ocean or going south or.
Right. Excellent. Okay. And so how do people get in touch with you if they're interested? They want to invest, they want to learn more about the company, they want to sign up. How do they get in touch with you?
If you search my name, my profiles come up, Facebook, Instagram, or again, email at armen@appearme.com, ARMEN @appearme.com. You can send me an email. Would love to.
Yeah, and that is AppearMe. That's AppearMe.com. And on Twitter, it's at AppearMe app, I believe.
Correct. AppearMe app,
APP. That's right. So thank you, Armen, for joining. I'm glad we finally got around to it. When I'm in LA next time, you're going to have to take me to the best Armenian restaurant down there.
Good.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon, whether it's LA or at any conference again.
Or at a conference sometime. Maybe we might get one in before the end of the year. Who knows?
Sounds good. Well, look forward to that. Thank you.
Sounds great. Don't disappear. When we stop recording, I'll tell you about the follow-up. Stay tuned with us next week, folks. Thank you to Ashkan, Havanas, Karen, and Rose for joining us in the Zoom. And Karen's over here on Facebook as well. Karen, do you have me on like 2 different screens and you just wanted me in each chair tonight? I appreciate that. Next week, we will be on with Haley Lennon. She is a crypto regulation lawyer for Anderson Kill, and she's been at Coinbase previously. So we will be talking crypto regulation next week for those who are interested. We are going to diverge from our startup discussions and go for some regulation discussion. Armen, thanks again, and I will see you guys next week.